Doctor's warning, never eat these 4 fruits after 60. He leaned across the small wooden table in his clinic, eyes kind but serious, and said something I'll never forget. What you believe is helping you might actually be hurting you. I was in my early 60s then, relatively healthy, active, and proud of my clean eating habits. Like many others my age, I had switched to more fruits, whole foods, and light meals, trying to do everything right. That's why what the doctor said hit me so hard. We often think of fruit as the safest choice, nature's dessert, doctors recommend it, nutritionists praise it, and magazines fill their pages with lists of top superfruits we should eat daily. But here's the truth no one talks about. Not all fruits are friendly to aging bodies. In fact, some fruits, yes, even the ones you've been told are healthy, can quietly wreak havoc on your blood sugar, interfere with your medications, inflame your joints, and speed up issues you didn't even know were beginning. And the worst part? Most people don't find out until it's too late, until their energy drops, their gut gets sluggish, their blood pressure rises, and their medication suddenly stops working. But none of it is sudden. It starts quietly, with small bites of the wrong things. That same doctor, who'd spent more than 30 years working with seniors, told me something that changed how I saw my kitchen forever. After 60, he said, the rules of digestion, absorption, and interaction all shift. Your body doesn't react to fruit the same way it did at 30. You have to choose smarter, not just healthier. And that's what this story's about. 4 fruits, 4 common choices, 2 paths, one toward vitality, the other towards slow and silent decline. Let me walk you through them, not with judgment or fear, but with awareness and empowerment. Before we dive in, let me be clear. This isn't a call to fear fruit. It's a call to understand how our bodies change with age and how our food needs to evolve with it. You deserve to feel strong, stable, and in control of your health. That starts with knowing what's in your fridge and how it's truly affecting you. Let's begin with one of the most beloved snacks on the planet. You've likely eaten it by the handful, thinking it's light, refreshing, and full of antioxidants. Grapes, red, green, black, whichever type, they look innocent, taste sweet, and often come with the label of heart healthy. But for seniors, grapes can be surprisingly deceptive. The issue lies not just in their natural sugars, but in how concentrated and easily consumed those sugars are. Grapes are what doctors call a mindless fruit. You don't peel them, slice them, or pit them. You grab a bunch and snack, and that's where the problem begins. 1 cup of grapes contains more sugar than most people realize, sometimes matching the sugar content of a candy bar. And unlike fruits rich in fiber or fat that slow down digestion, grapes go straight through. That means sugar hits the bloodstream fast, causing glucose and insulin levels to spike, a dangerous pattern for anyone with prediabetes, diabetes, or even subtle blood sugar instability. But that's not all. Grapes are often heavily sprayed, and unless you buy organic, you may be consuming traces of chemicals that can linger in your system. For seniors with sensitive digestion, weakened immune systems, or inflammatory issues, these residues are more than just numbers on a report. They can be triggers for discomfort, fatigue, and inflammation. And the skin of grapes? While it adds a bit of chew, it doesn't offer nearly the protective fiber of something like an apple or a pear. So the question becomes, is this fruit really worth it? The doctor looked at me gently and said, it's not that grapes are poison, it's that they're misunderstood. And when misunderstood, they can be dangerous. That stuck with me because it's not about removing all joy from food. It's about being honest with ourselves about what helps and what harms, especially when those lines aren't obvious. The second fruit might be sitting in your pantry right now, tucked away in a Ziploc bag, waiting for a quick nibble during the day. Dried fruit. Sounds healthy, right? It's still fruit, just minus the water. But what gets left behind when the water disappears is a dangerously concentrated version of the original. Sugar, in nearly its purest form. A small handful of dried apricots or raisins may seem like a modest snack, but it can contain more sugar than an entire piece of cake. And the worst part, it doesn't feel that way. Dried fruits are chewy, light, and easy to overeat. The water that would have filled you up is gone, and so is the natural signal to stop. But there's another layer: many dried fruits, especially the bright, colorful ones you see in stores, are preserved with sulfites. These are chemicals meant to keep the fruit looking fresh, but they can be harsh on the respiratory systems of older adults, especially those with asthma, COPD, or chronic sinus issues. If you've ever felt bloated, foggy, or unusually tired after eating dried fruit, it might not be your imagination. It might be your body telling you it's time to rethink. And here's what the doctor told me that made me truly reconsider. If you wouldn't eat 6 whole plums in one sitting, why would you eat 6 dried ones in 5 minutes? That hit home because dried fruit tricks us. It looks small and harmless, but behaves like a sugar bomb inside the body, particularly when consumed regularly. If you're still with me, I want to pause for a moment and say thank you, because this kind of conversation isn't always easy. It asks us to re-examine what we've been taught, to step back and ask if we're doing what's truly right for us, not just what we've been told is healthy. And if you're over 60, these small shifts can mean the difference between feeling sluggish and feeling sharp. Between managing medications and avoiding them altogether, there are 2 more fruits we'll need to talk about. One of them is often eaten too early, before it's ready, and causes more disruption to the gut than most realize. The other, it's loved for its tart flavor and diet-friendly reputation, but may be quietly turning your medications into something far more dangerous. Let's take a deep breath and get ready to look at those next. I didn't expect bananas to come up in the conversation. After all, well, they're so familiar, so everyday, that we barely think twice. Yellow, convenient, affordable. They've been breakfast staples for decades. But then the doctor smiled gently and asked, "Do you eat them green?" I paused, surprised. I had. On occasion, sometimes I grabbed them a bit early from the counter because I didn't want them too soft. He nodded. "That's the problem. Green bananas," he explained, "aren't just unripe. They're chemically and structurally different from ripe ones. When a banana is still green, its starches haven't broken down into simpler sugars yet. That means you're not just eating a less sweet fruit, you're putting a heavy digestive task on a system that, frankly, isn't as efficient as it used to be. For older adults, digestion becomes a more delicate dance, the enzymes slow, the gut gets a little more sensitive, and the margin for error shrinks. Green bananas come packed with what's called resistant starch, a form of carbohydrate that resists normal digestion and ferments in the colon instead. For some, this can be helpful. But for many seniors, especially those with irritable bowels, slower transit, or a history of bloating and gas, it becomes a recipe for discomfort. And the problem goes deeper than a gassy afternoon. That resistant starch can actually interfere with how well your gut absorbs other nutrients in the same meal. Imagine preparing a healthy plate of greens, grains, and lean protein, but then undermining its benefits just by tossing in a green banana on the side. That's the kind of detail no one teaches us. No food label warns you about it. And yet, it quietly chips away at nutrient absorption, something many seniors already struggle with due to medications, appetite changes, and natural aging. He told me something I still use today. Wait for the brown specks. That's when bananas are ready to serve you, not fight you. Since then, I've learned to embrace the softness, even the sweetness that comes with ripening. A ripe banana is easier on the gut, richer in antioxidants, and more bioavailable in every way. And if you don't like the mushy texture, blend it, use it in smoothies, mash it with oats. Just don't settle for green, thinking you're playing it safe. Sometimes, waiting just a day or two makes all the difference. But then came the last fruit, The one that honestly shocked me the most, not because I thought it was innocent, but because I never knew it could be dangerous in such a serious way. Grapefruit. Now, don't get me wrong, grapefruit has long held its throne as the diet fruit. It's tart, low in calories, and shows up in all those old school weight loss magazines with promises of slimming effects and boosted metabolism. But beneath that pretty pink flesh lies something far more complicated. What many seniors and even some doctors don't fully discuss is how grapefruit can interact with common medications. And I'm not talking about subtle side effects. I'm talking about dangerous interactions that could land you in the hospital, even if you've done everything by the book. It turns out that grapefruit contains compounds that interfere with a key enzyme in the gut, responsible for breaking down medications. Without this enzyme doing its job, drugs that were meant to be absorbed slowly and safely can suddenly flood your bloodstream all at once. Imagine taking your regular dose of a heart medication and your body reacting as if you'd taken 3 or 4 times that amount. The consequences? Anything from muscle breakdown to kidney damage to dangerously low blood pressure, depending on the drug. And the worst part? It doesn't take much. Just half a grapefruit, or even a small glass of the juice, can throw your system off balance for up to 3 days. I remember looking at the doctor, stunned. Why don't more people know this? He sighed. Because grapefruit seems so innocent, and we assume if it's natural, it must be safe. But nature and medicine don't always get along. He wasn't trying to scare me, just to wake me up. And I'm glad he did. So now, whenever someone tells me they've started eating clean or have swapped desserts for fruit, I smile. But I also gently ask, which fruits? Because not all of them are safe for everyone, especially after 60. Your liver, your gut, your medications, they all change how food affects you. And it's not about fear, it's about awareness. It's about listening to your body and learning to read between the lines of health trends. If you're still watching, I want to thank you, because this kind of knowledge isn't just for you, it's for the people you care about too. How many of our parents, our spouses, or our friends are eating grapes by the bowl, tossing dried fruit into their cereal, blending green bananas into their smoothies, or sipping grapefruit juice each morning, thinking they're making a smart choice? How many are unknowingly adding stress to a body that's already working harder with age? But now you know, and when you know, you get to choose differently, not perfectly, just consciously. In a moment, I'll show you the small adjustments you can make to transform fruit from a hidden threat into your greatest ally, because food isn't the enemy, it's the tool. The key is knowing how to use it. After that conversation, I didn't stop eating fruit, but I did start seeing it differently. I began treating it not just as a snack or something light and healthy, but as a tool, one that, if used wisely, could support my heart, my brain, my digestion, and my energy. And that shift, however subtle it sounds, made all the difference. The doctor wasn't asking me to fear food. He was asking me to become conscious, to notice, to respond to my body the way I'd respond to someone I loved, with attention, with patience, and with care. So I began adjusting, not by cutting things out drastically, but by choosing more intentionally. In the mornings, instead of a pile of grapes or a glass of orange juice, I started my day with blueberries, those little purple gems that don't just taste good, but nourish the mind. It amazed me to learn that something as simple as a handful of berries could help slow down memory decline, or support coordination, or reduce inflammation in the very parts of the brain responsible for focus and mood. When I added them to a bowl of oatmeal or plain yogurt, I noticed something subtle but powerful. I didn't crash mid-morning. I felt clear, steady, almost sharper than usual. Then came apples. I'll admit, I'd overlooked them for years. Too ordinary, too basic. But what I didn't know was that apples, especially eaten with the skin, were quietly doing things inside me that no supplement had ever managed. The fiber didn't just help with digestion, it helped regulate blood sugar, clean up cholesterol, and feed the good bacteria in my gut. I started taking one with me on my morning walks, And I realized how satisfying it was. Not heavy, not sugary, just real. There's a reason that old saying exists. After all, an apple a day really does keep more than just the doctor away. It keeps chaos away from the inside out. Around lunch, I found a new appreciation for avocado. Yes, technically a fruit. Yes, full of fat, but the good kind. The kind that helps my joints feel looser, my heart beat more calmly, and my blood pressure stay in range even on stressful days. I didn't need much, just a few slices on whole grain toast or a spoonful added to soup. But over time, I could feel the difference. The stiffness in my hands eased. My energy didn't dip after eating. And perhaps most importantly, I felt full in a good way, not heavy, but satisfied. The kind of fullness that stops you from snacking mindlessly an hour later. And then, in the afternoon or early evening, I added a little pomegranate, not every day, but enough to feel the impact. A spoonful of seeds mixed into tea, a splash of the juice diluted with water and lemon. It wasn't about the quantity, it was about consistency. That deep red fruit was doing something inside me I couldn't see, but could sense. My blood pressure stabilized. My legs stopped cramping at night. And strangely enough, I remembered dreams more clearly. Coincidence? Maybe. But in my heart, I knew my body was thanking me. The more I learned, the more I realized that fruit isn't just about what we eat, but when we eat it and how we pair it. I started having fruit earlier in the day, when my metabolism was more active and my energy needed the lift. I learned to combine it with a little protein or healthy fat so the sugar wouldn't hit too fast. A sliced apple with almond butter, blueberries with Greek yogurt, avocado with boiled eggs. Not fancy, not trendy, just smart. Even water made a difference. Drinking a glass before eating fruit helped my body process it more gently. It's such a small thing, but these small things add up, especially after 60, because our bodies are still strong, still wise, still full of potential, but they're also more sensitive, more nuanced. They're asking for partnership, not punishment. And here's something beautiful I hadn't expected. As I made these changes, my cravings changed too. I no longer wanted the dried mango that left my mouth dry and my stomach bloated. I stopped reaching for the green banana just to avoid wasting it. I learned to let the fruit ripen fully, just like I was doing myself. I learned to wait, to savor, to choose. People started noticing. "You look more rested," a friend said. "You seem sharper lately," another remarked. And the truth is, I felt it. Not in a flashy, overnight miracle kind of way, but in that deep, steady way you feel when something inside you is working the way it should, when the gears are oiled, when the fire is burning clean. If you're watching this, you might be wondering where to begin. You don't need to overhaul your diet overnight. Just begin with awareness. Ask yourself, how do I feel after eating this? Am I choosing fruit that serves me or just habits that feel familiar? Replace one fruit at a time. Notice how your body responds. Talk to your doctor, especially if you're on medications. And don't be afraid to ask questions, even about things you've been eating for decades, because aging isn't a decline. It's a refining, a clarifying, a season where less noise allows for more clarity, and food, especially something as humble as fruit, can either support that clarity or slowly cloud it. The choice is yours, and it's a beautiful one. Sometimes we think the biggest changes require the biggest moves. A new routine, a new diagnosis, a new diet with a name and a rule book. But the older I get, the more I realize it's the small choices, made consistently, that build the foundation of health. It's that morning decision to slice an apple instead of reaching for something packaged. It's knowing that the softness of a ripe banana is a sign of wisdom, not waste. It's pausing before buying the usual bag of dried fruits, and instead walking towards something fresh, alive, and easier on the body. And it's also being brave enough to let go of old beliefs, that all fruit is good, that natural always means safe, that what worked for us in our 30s or 40s must still serve us now. The truth is, our bodies are constantly talking to us. They whisper in how we sleep, how we move, how we think, and how we feel after each meal. When we learn to listen and respond with kindness, we change the course of how we age. There is so much we cannot control. The years will pass, loved ones will come and go. Life will stretch and soften us in ways we never expected. But what we eat, how we treat ourselves, what we place on our plate each day, that's still ours. That's still within reach. That's still the daily act of love we can choose. If there's one thing I hope you take from this, it's that food is not just fuel. It's a message, a medicine, a way to tell your body, I'm still here. I still care. The fruits you choose are not just nutrients. They are signals to your heart, your brain, your blood, and your breath. They say, let's keep going. Let's do this well. So as you walk through your kitchen today, or the market tomorrow, I hope you do it with new eyes, not fearful, not overwhelmed, but empowered. Look at each fruit and ask, is this serving my body today? Is this supporting the version of me I want to keep becoming? It's okay if the answer changes over time. That's part of the journey too. And if this message has touched you, even in a small way, I invite you to share it with a friend, a parent, a neighbor who may be walking the same path but hasn't yet heard these quiet truths. Sometimes, the most powerful thing we can do is pass along a piece of clarity, a reminder, a warning whispered with love. It might just change someone's health or their whole season of life. Because health after 60 isn't about restriction, it's about renewal. It's about removing what no longer serves us and gently choosing what does. And that starts with something as simple and powerful as fruit. Take care of yourself. Choose wisely. Eat kindly. Your future self will thank you.